Welcome YouTube. We're gonna play some chess today, and with me I have the one and only Clover.
Hey,
Um,
hey.
what we're gonna start off with is we actually had a little tournament between friends on a couple days ago, and in this tournament, Clover played 3 games, and I put all of them into light chess with a little bit of analysis. And I noticed some stuff, so we're
I,
gonna do
I made a few misplays here and there,
no,
which
but
I was aware of at the moment I did it
yeah,
already.
no, but we're gonna like there's patterns that we're gonna see. So I will talk a little bit about how to do in analysis in general because it's very useful if you can just analyze your own games and spot like what is actually the thing that goes wrong, because it's very easy to fall into the trap saying, hey, I don't like, I know the mistake I made this particular mistake. But it's good to see the patterns, and that's where you can learn the most, right? um
Sounds logical.
yeah,
Yeah.
and so by doing this, we'll spot a couple of things that we can focus on for you, and then we can try that out. We'll probably see if you can play the computer and I can coach you or something like that. I think that's a way to get around. Like, we can't actually do assistance. If we can't do that, I'll probably start up like a medium level computer on my end, and I'll play on behalf of it, and we'll work it out that way. Um,
Beep boop.
yeah. So the first game. So Clover was black here. It's actually one that starts.
Oh, I know. This one was against. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, so this is gonna look very good for you. What you'll see is
The person I played against is in the back.
yeah, maybe. So first things first. So this is something I noticed in one of the other games as well. So you play relatively passively, right? So what you'll see is um where the opponent like pushes forward pawns 2 steps, you'll try to stay back a little bit, play a pawn once forward, and just develop some pieces, right? So
Okay,
that's
so what I was trying to go for here, which backfired immediately, was I was trying to go for a kind of setup like early finish, uh, but I did the wrong pawn,
okay, yeah, that's
and I realized that, and I was
yeah,
like, oh well, frick.
yeah.
Now I
So
have to think of a different strategy.
yeah, but in general, that this is something I saw a little bit. So that's one thing we're gonna focus on later, like how to open and what's important in like getting started. Um, but other than that, this is totally fine. Here, your opponent hangs a pawn, which is not like, it's not critical, but it is, you get like a nice piece in the center of the board. So what you'll like, these 4 squares are always something to look out for, right? This is, if you can place a piece here, defend it well, then generally you have some reach over the board. So if you look at where this knight can go, like, it has all
Wait, how
kinds
do you?
of,
Oh, yeah, circles. You do right. All right.
yeah, right click, yeah.
Right.
So you'll see. I don't know if you can actually add them as well. Like, I think
Yeah,
you're a
I could.
viewer at the moment.
You can also see them, right? Huh?
Okay, yeah.
Right.
So what you'll see is that this knight has a lot of in reach into the enemy base, basically. So that's very nice to have going for you.
Yeah.
Um, and you won a pawn with this, which is another reason why this was great.
Yeah. It literally, when I did it, I was like, oh, this is free.
Yeah.
And then this move happened.
And then this move happened, which makes sense, right? Because you haven't defended it, so it makes, so what this does is it develops a piece, it brings one out into the field, and it gains some tempo. So because you have to do something about this knight. So in
Didn't I play
general,
here?
when being attacked, you can do 2 things: either you defend the piece with another one, or you move out of the way. And you chose the second option, which is fine actually. This is a good spot. It's defended right here. It prevents this pawn from moving up. and kind of key, it attacks this bishop.
I am sad because can you move one step backwards?
Yes.
If I had gone with my pawn to there, I would have probably forced the person to
So
uh,
so so
this,
let's play this out. If you
and
mean
then I would
this,
have
right?
done this, and then I would have lost my horse. But
Let's see. Is this? I'm not moving along with your. So you can do it on your screen, and I'm seeing it on your screen, but you're not. If you do something, I can't see it, I think.
check.
But you can see. Can you see it if I do it? Not right now, right? Yeah, you're in a different variation now.
Yeah,
So you built this up. Um,
that's yeah, pretty much. And from there, I would have probably had to think a lot again. But oh well.
yeah. So this. I mean, this is fine. You've traded a knight for a bishop here, which in general is slightly favored to the side that offers up the knight. Um, but it's not that big of a difference. Um, So alternatively, like if you want to be real aggressive, you could move in with like f5, right? That's something you could do, um, and defend it. It's it makes a little bit of a hole in your king side, so that's like this is generally kind of vulnerable.
By the way, I think you can also see my alternative sets because in the layout where it says 5 and then 6, there are two variant options right
Yeah,
now.
so but I played this out for myself as well, so I don't know if it's going quite well with the stream. But in any case, you attack a piece. So this is gonna be a recurring theme. You can like you for one you moved out of the way, but you clearly spotted this. Your opponent, however, did not. So yeah, you noticed, hey, this is hung, so I can just take it and go ahead. So
Yeah.
this is something you're perfectly
By the way,
fine
I'm
with.
not sure which steps we are at right now because I think it's not automatically
It's
updating
not
anymore.
updating. Oh, so to the bottom left you have a sync button, right? Is it? It's red right now.
Oh, sync, check. Yeah,
If you
got it.
click
Yeah.
that, then it should sync up with whatever I'm doing.
So I didn't even realize that I would also have her check.
Yeah. So
I didn't even realize that, but I was like, oh, free piece. Let's go.
yeah. So yeah, free piece. You move the king out of the way, so that's pretty nice. Um, they can't castle anymore. Uh, so it's party all around. Um, here there's two pawns hanging again. Like it was a double fork. You could have also taken this one with another check. It's
Oh,
just
I did. I would like literally now. I'm looking at it. I was like, why didn't I? I was certain I took left, and then I see myself take right. I'm like, why did I do that?
yeah.
Oh well.
Well, but I mean, so in general, this is totally fine, right? You're way ahead at this point. Um, there's some stuff happening, nothing too fancy up until this point. Um, so you give a check here, and this kind of attack is called a skewer. So what's good to realize here is you have an attacking piece, and you attack a piece of high value with something of lesser value behind it. So what that generally means is that you force the piece in front to move out, and then you can take whatever is behind.
That was the logic I was trying
Yeah.
to do, and then the freaking horse came.
No, so actually no, right? So
Oh, it
in in
didn't.
in the in the game, what happened was King F1.
Okay, so I thought the horse came because
Yeah,
that would have been the better play. I
it would
felt.
have been the better play. I put that in the analysis. So this can defend, but yeah, it's
With
like
that, I think I was anticipating this would happen, and it didn't happen.
yeah. So that this is also something that's part of your repertoire, right? So you can defend something by placing a piece in between. So
Yeah.
in general, if you are like even if you are in check specifically, you always have three options: move your king out of the way, move a piece in between the attacker and the king, or take the attacking piece. And those are always your three options when you're in check.
Fourth option, surrender.
That's another option, yeah. Or just lose outright if it's a checkmate. But yeah,
True.
so that's interesting.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, the rest of this game is not really that interesting. You just like basically you it's
It wasn't
okay.
mid. This was
Sometimes you
mid-play.
sacrifice something, sometimes you take something, but in general, like you get some stuff out there. You just eat all the pieces. They're hanging left and right. It's fine. Um, this is yeah, it's and you finish the job, right? So that's also important.
What was
But
funny is that I didn't move my queen up till this point.
yeah,
Okay, there we go.
exactly. And you in the end you don't even use your queen to mate. You just
I'm
eat the
not the
final
grandmaster
rook
yet.
and so in general for end games, do you know like how to do this stuff in general? So for example, a king and a queen versus a king?
I think I did that with my not my match against you, but against the other match. I did that eventually.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I did that with two queens, but or
Yeah,
three
so
queens.
so
I don't know. I had a lot of queens at some point in the
yeah,
game.
two queens is a lot easier, but like basically two rooks is perfectly doable. There's some tougher ones as well. So a king and two bishops is also can be done. And the hardest one, in my opinion, is a king with a bishop and a knight versus a king. You can always mate that, but you have to be, uh,
Very
yeah,
careful.
a
Yeah.
little bit quicker in order um, to because there's a rule that says if you move 50 moves without moving a pawn or capturing a piece, then it's a draw. Um, and in the
Oh,
scenario where you have a bishop and a knight versus a king, if you mess up, you could reach that 50 move limit and accidentally draw that way. Um, so yeah, it's but in general, like the lesson that I took from this match is you can spot it when the your opponent's pieces are hanging. And what you already saw here a couple times is that you have a little more trouble spotting when your own pieces are hanging, which is equally important, right? So
yeah.
making sure that your stuff is defended. So this is something that we'll focus on for one thing. So let's move on to the next game, if Lee Chess allows me. Yeah, there we go. Okay.
Okay, give me a quick second while I edit something.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, better. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So basically, sort of same thing happens here, right? Your opponent like clearly takes the center, while you sit back and wait, which is it's a strategy, but I would I would recommend like pushing in a pawn or two, like just to secure your spot in the center. Um,
Yeah, would you don't have suggested me moving D to uh D5?
yeah, so indeed, like something like
Sorry, D7 to D5, I mean.
yeah, for example, at this point, this is a perfectly good move, right?
Yeah.
It's just to reserve some space for you, and it's basically this is a totally normal opening.
Well, why does that play? Oops.
Let's see. Yeah, so basically up to this point, it's like normal solid a solid game. I drew a little bit here to express the sentiment that you've lost center control.
Yeah.
You have your knights out here. What if I see this structure? What you generally are intending to do with that is put a bishop up here, because then you'll get this diagonal, which is very strong.
I
And
think I actually also did that, but at least I don't remember because I was first like, I'm gonna place it here, like in A6, and I was
mhm,
like, no, I should not do that because then
no,
it's a lost cause.
then it is a lost cause. So this, like building a little house like this with the bishop behind it, it's called a fianchetto, and it's a very like useful strategy, right? Um, so this is really nice, and it's basically yeah, it's a good setup. However, you chose to push this pawn, which sort of what happens here is that you lose this connection. So this is now no longer defended. It's a little bit out there, which can be fine, but you really would want the support of your other pawns to do this.
Yeah, what my logic was doing the C8 to C6, but because I
Yeah,
couldn't, I was then planning to move the pawn there to do it next turn. Not thinking that she just could have
yeah,
taken it, and then I still couldn't have done it the next
exactly.
turn. So
It's
that was
hanging
kind of
now. This is not the highest level game still. Like this stuff doesn't get noticed. You end up putting your bishop on a6. Um, mm, moving knights to the edge is also something you tend to do. If you don't need to, I wouldn't do it, because if you look at how many squares this reaches, it's 4. Whereas in this position, how many squares do we have?
8.
It's 6 or
Right.
8 actually. Yeah. So,
I
but
was like, it should be double,
it
but
should be double. Yeah. So this is a simple way to sort of count how much influence a piece has, and as a rule of thumb, if it's more towards the center, it has more influence, and this is especially true for knights and bishops.
yeah. Okay. So would you have suggested here that I should have moved, if I had moved that knight, that I should have moved it to D5?
Yeah, D5. Well, so D5 is a little bit weak in the sense that it can get chased off, right, like this.
True, but I
Um,
could have gotten
yeah.
yeah, the
No,
one for
this is
free.
not hanging, right?
Oh,
There's a knight
right.
right here that can
Right.
take back.
Right.
So it's okay, but it's not like,
Not worth it.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's okay. So basically, yeah, let's move on to here. Yeah, so here you lose some tempo. Your knights gets chased out. Um, what you see at this point is that basically this structure is a little bit up, but there's also a hole here. And normally you want a castle, either king side or queen side, and both are a little bit weak, right? So you generally want to keep like the pawns over here intact as a sort of wall to defend your king.
That's
Um,
why, by the way.
yeah.
Yeah.
So this is general advice, but this is something I noticed when looking at this position, that basically this is now an advantage for you, right? Because you can try to attack the king, and it will be weak wherever it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that
Because like the whole, almost the whole second row
yeah.
is clean. Yeah.
And so actually, instead of G4 is fine, but actually this is a pretty nasty move, right? So what's going on here? Um,
And did that happen or not?
it did not happen. When I watched this game, I was waiting for this to happen, and it
Oh
did
yeah,
not
I
happen.
was waiting for it to happen as well because it would have forced me to kill it with my Hawker, and then she could have killed it with
Yeah. So
yeah.
later this will get defended a little bit, but there will be a knight involved here. So I don't know if it happens eventually, but it keeps being a threat for a very long time. But
Oh yeah, I know, and I was aware of that threat for the whole game, and I was like, "Ah, please don't move it."
but you could have prevent, like, this loses a piece by definition, right? So you could
Yeah,
have tried to move this back, for example. So
could have, but I was at the point that whatever I did, I would have I think I was in the situation that I would lose a piece for a very long time, whatever
yeah,
I did. So I just had to defend and was pushed back little by little.
Yeah, I see. Well, so in any case, this is a fork. So this is another type of trick that's gonna be in your arsenal, right? So a fork is often a knight or a pawn, and like if you have a like, be aware that pawns take diagonally, and then um, you'll be very happy. Okay, well, so in this doesn't actually happen. Some other stuff happens. Stuff gets chased away. Um, Actually, at this point, like doing a long castle is not actually that bad, right? In the sense that there's a decent defense up for the king, but still, like because the knight is over here, um, this still is a terrible thing to happen to you. Like just the take is it loses you a piece, and
Yeah.
even in the lines where it doesn't lose you a piece, it just chases your knight and your bishop all the way to the corner, and you're in a quite a terrible position.
Yeah, I didn't I did not have a good time here. I was really like, I'm not gonna win this anymore.
Yeah. But so this is also a lesson, right? What happened in this game um, is perseverance. What also happened was a discovered attack. So what you notice here is that this knight moved away, and in this freed up a line for the rook. So this actually attacked your bishop, and if you don't like check for this stuff, so it's always good to see like someone does a move, and then you check, okay, what's made possible by that, and that's done in a couple of ways. So you check, hey, what about that knight, like can it attack something, or did it free up a line or something, and
Yeah,
that's basically some stuff that when someone does a move, it's always good to check, hey, does it attack something of me, either directly or indirectly? Do they
yeah.
defend something of their own? Did they give up a defense of a piece? That's basically a short checklist that you can go through and figure out like what uh, what do you what you want to be doing.
I think I did not see that one coming, so
You
I
did
lost the finish.
not see this one
No,
coming, so you
yeah, I
lost.
lost. I was so. I was like, oh no, oh
Yeah,
frick. I was very sad there.
but oh, actually, so what happened? You did a counter attack here, so you end up taking the a bishop in return. So
Yeah,
it's totally fine here. Here, same thing, right? So you take this, and that exposes this line. Um,
yeah, I knew that, but I was trying to force my way. I knew this was gonna happen for some way, so I was like, take it, just take it. Uh, and I will find a countermeasure because this line was hanging there the whole game and was like, just take it, please.
yeah. So on the one hand, I see what you mean. That you want to force something, you're behind in material, but this like as a rule of thumb, if you want to sacrifice a piece, you generally want to take like a pawn in the king structure, right? So to sort of blow a hole in that.
Hmm.
If you just want to sacrifice a piece because it's tempo and you don't want to move it, that's sort of questionable. So the fact that, and in fact, like you do this, but at this point, like you, instead of moving your rook forward, you can also choose to take them, right?
Yeah, but I knew that the rook was gonna take it.
Yeah, but that's fine, right? It's just a normal trade. Whereas
Yeah,
if you
true,
let them take you, then you've lost a piece.
true.
But yeah, I don't know if it ends up happen. It does end up happening. It ends up happening here because
Yeah,
you move it out, and then they realize, hey, I can take this, and then they actually do take it.
yeah,
So
I know.
that's fine.
And it took them way too long, but now I set up to take it. This was also a very bad move, by the way.
Yeah. So in general, you don't want to trade if you're behind. Um,
Yeah,
because then
okay.
the relative difference of the material that you have becomes so much bigger.
I'm not sure if I was aware that I would also just lose that tower right away. But at this point, I was like, okay, I really after I lost that, I was like, okay, now I have to take the queen and lose my queen. If I don't do this, I'm losing. It's
Yeah,
the end.
you're yeah. So if you leave it hanging, well, I mean, so what can happen is this, right? They it's not their move, right? So let's say you do something irrelevant, they take, uh, you take. This is still fine, um, but it's
Yeah.
also not great.
No, it was really not a good
Yeah.
play.
But what we're gonna see here, like in general, this is not. So here we see, hey, you spot the hanging piece of your opponent, so you take it, which is good, right? And
There, I lose my
here
horse.
you just yeah, it hangs in two ways, right? So
Yeah.
this was, I think, this was also a little bit of time pressure, maybe, but still, like it's
I think I had more than enough time.
okay. Then it's
I
really
have not played on time.
yeah, okay. So what you also will find yourself in sometimes is that you feel rushed because the opponent moves quickly. As long as you have enough time on your clock, just with every move, you before you do it, you visualize, hey, what does it look like? And basically, is that piece hanging, or does moving this open up a line that's problematic? Just slowly look at, like, what could they do, and basically you're very clearly looking at, what can I do, and you're spotting the options there, and you're just taking the hanging pieces left and right. But when it comes to what can they do, that's basically the next step. um
Yeah. And
in,
pretty much at this point, I was about to give up.
yeah,
I did not think I could win this anymore.
rightfully so. Like
The
normally people
the
would
odds
resign
were
this no questions asked.
the odds were against me. Like you have seen the statistics. How far was it against me?
Yeah, so we can actually switch on the engine here. I don't know if that shows for you as well. Um, no, don't think so. If you click the button on the top right, the switch, it will show. It will
Plus 13.1.
yeah, plus
Okay.
13. That's a lot in general. Like plus
Yeah.
13 is way up.
Yeah.
Yeah, so here what do we see? Well, we see some, like, it becomes more and more problematic. Here they hang their first piece, a knight. Then at this point you want to do the trade, but they actually take a
I
pawn,
was
which
so confused. I thought they would take my tower,
yeah,
and I thought it was done for it. I
yeah,
was like, I'm not winning this anymore because I'm gonna lose my final useful piece, and they didn't take it. And I was like, oh, now we're even again.
yeah. So this is, in general, this is also a good reason to trade when you're ahead, right?
Look at
it's
the
just
engine.
it's
I
yeah,
went from 13 like very being in a disadvantage to a neutral position.
yeah. So this is, apparently, this is theoretically a draw. Like, if you play it out perfectly, it's a draw, which makes sense. Um, yeah, here it's gonna be, there's some nonsense going on. I think at
Oh,
some point,
I was setting up. I was setting up.
yeah,
I was slowly setting up that pawn.
yeah, you're pushing the pawn, and in the end, like, you manage to do that. You trade rooks, but it's way too late. And here you just get to, uh, yeah, play it out. So this is a little, this is what made me think, like, it you can do this in a little bit more structured way, right? But it's gonna be fine if you're like a if you're gonna play a lot of speed chess. You can actually practice doing this with pre-moves, so you can do this without losing a second on your clock, like mating someone here. uh, but like I've just recently tried it, and I managed to make it work with, I think, a king and a rook, but it's kind of tough.
Yeah, right.
Anyway, so big lesson of this game is basically seeing, hey, I know when to take pieces because they're hanging and they're undefended, and the other way around, you sort of have a blind spot for when your pieces are hanging. So that's something to keep in mind for games. Well, and then the final one, which I think you know,
I
which
don't wanna
this is a
know. It was
shorter one.
against you.
It's
This was
it's
not funny.
it's against yours truly.
This was so awful. It was
It's
so awful.
I mean, so in general, like it was just a little bit like this is okay. Yeah, there was a pawn hanging, so I take it. That's how I roll. And here, so what you see here, it's kind of a nasty double trick, right? So on the one hand, we have the discovered attack where I get to move my knight out of the way and then
Yeah,
attack your queen.
yeah.
Um,
Now,
what's
well, it was my turn next, and it was either you indeed. Uh, yeah, you
so
took my horse adventure.
so the stuff to keep in mind here, right, is for one, this bishop is actually undefended. So the reason that I can do this is because I defended with my knight from this point.
Yeah,
Um, that's something to keep in mind. Yeah, I don't know actually what the engine recommends here. Knight to c, it recommends knight to c2.
it's my turn now.
Oh yeah, yeah. So yeah, it recommends knight to c2 because that attacks the bishop from here. So then I can no longer do this because we just trade it out and you'd be fine.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, if you miss that, then you lose your queen. So uh, this is the reverse of a skewer. So in this case, the higher value piece is in the front, and especially if it's a queen, then it's
no,
just gonna get
the
taken.
higher value piece is in the back because the
Oh
king is ultimate.
yeah, you're right. Yeah, the higher value piece is in the back. Yeah, so and yeah, the queen can only be in front in this scenario if the back one is a king. Um, but yeah, basically it prevents the queen from moving, right? So you can also do this with a lot of other pieces. Um, but
Yeah,
yeah, it also yeah, it's just gonna get taken, and you can't
yeah,
do anything about it. So that's
and I missed the horse position, and yeah,
yeah.
at that point
So
it was going
if you don't have a way to if you see it but you don't know how to defend against this, then basically, so for one, you could have moved. You could also just in quotes, like if let's say you move your let's go here. So let's say you move your queen like somewhere. Okay, somewhere here doesn't work out because that's giving you a discovered attack and basically a double attack like this, right?
yeah, yeah,
Um, with the knight going up here.
yeah,
Um, but okay, let's try again. So what about? Oh, there's actually kind of few places where you can go. Let's see, because a lot of them are actually give you a yeah something like this. Yeah, this. I mean, it's still not great, but like this at least brings you in a position where this knight doesn't really have a profitable way to make this attack. So the
no, but
engine
I would
says
still lose my queen.
this is pretty good. And like you're still getting overwhelmed, but it's
But what happens that do that back, and then you would still use the knight, then I would be check.
yeah.
So I would still have to be forced to put my queen up to kill the
No, no,
queen.
no. Because so let's say we go here. We can either move our king in the or a bishop in the
Oh yeah, of
over
course.
here, or just move our king up
Check.
out of the
Yeah.
way. So that's it. It
Yeah.
opens up some more options.
You see, I would still have missed that at that
Yeah.
point. Uh,
Okay. So I just wanted to show this game just because this is actually kind of a tricky situation, right? There's two tricks in there. There's the discovered attack of the this is called a battery bishop in the back with a knight in the front. So this like a combination like this also with other pieces, and you can use that to do a discovered attack by moving the piece in front out of the way, and the back piece then attacks something. And then there's also the pin. So we've sprinkled in a little bit of tactics throughout your game. It's good to know these names because they'll help you recognize the situation. Um, but in general, like what you want to be doing is take control of the center a little bit by with pawns. Make sure that your pieces are also sort of aiming towards that. Um, Try to castle, like if you move some stuff out of the way and get your king to safety, right?
Yeah.
Um, and then basically yes, and once you've defended your king, your pieces are developed, like they're out in the field. You have control of the center, and then you can try to, for example, attack the other king, right? Try to move stuff towards the king side, like go here. In this case, it doesn't really make sense because you have a lot of problems going on over here, but just to
Yeah.
sketch like stuff like this, you want to try and attack the king side.
Yeah. Yeah, it went horrible. It went horrible. From this
Yeah,
point on,
I mean
I was already done.
it's not really like we can click through it, but it doesn't really matter. Uh,
No, I kept losing pieces left and right. At this point, losing the queen early on with you having a big board advantage was like, yeah, nope.
yeah, so basically, yeah, it's yeah, but to summarize, so make sure that just your first actionable item is like when you do a move, just do basic checks like um, is this piece now hanging, or like can it be taken for free? Am I giving something up somewhere else on the board? If you enjoyed this video, please consider liking and subscribing. It helps people like you find it too. Thanks.